What's going on? I'm Cole, and today on our disc golf journey, we're going to try something a little bit new. It's a new year, so I'm going to try kind of recording in different spaces throughout my house. This is just kind of the wall in the basement that I use, but it's more disc golf themed stuff along the top, as you can see. So I thought it'd be maybe just a cooler place to do it. But for this video, we're going to try something kind of new. So there's another channel that I follow called Peachy Disc Golf. I'll have their information down below. One of the things that he did on his channel is he talked about his favorite discs 2023 in both the ones that were released that year and the ones that were just something that he hadn't tried before and wanted to try again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with kind of the new discs that I tried that didn't necessarily come out in 2023, but that I tried out and I maybe enjoyed. And for the first disc, we're going to go with the Hooligan Flip. This is a disc that I ended up getting a 3-pack from them. I took it out to the course. I had a lot of fun with this. This thing is like flippy right off the bat. It's pretty flat. And yeah, it's just an overall fun disc to play with. I throw Tersuses kind of in the same spot, and if I didn't have so many already, this probably would have instantly made the bag for kind of that perfect hyzer flip disc or just the straight to flip over. This thing is flippy off the bat. Once again, I got it in the Alpha Flex plastic, which I kind of like, and maybe it'll be good to bring out in the winter. But once again, Hooligan Disc Flip, this really impressed me for something as kind of an understable mid-range. Disc number 4 that did not come out is the A5. This is the one in, I think they called this like crystal or something. This thing is a puddle top. I really enjoyed this to the point where this made it into the bag. I kind of had the Saki Bomb Slammer, so I don't really like pull this out a ton, but I feel like on a sidearm I just like the way that it feels off the hand. And also I think, when it comes to tee shots, I can put this out a little bit farther than the Slammer, so there's definitely kind of some overlap. But playing that one round that I did with the new Prodigy box, this one got a lot of playtime. It just felt good off the hand. I loved the way that it felt and just kind of could throw. So if you're looking for kind of something that's pretty stable to slightly overstable, I think this A5 is a good disc for you. And disc number 3, we've got the Trash Panda Inner Core. This is probably like one of those discs you see so many people throwing. This one is made it into the bag. I like it for kind of driving putter. If I need to turn over a putter, this is usually the putter that I grab, put it on a little bit of ante. It holds that ante pretty good, and you can do a lot with it. It's pretty versatile. I have a judge, and when I want to throw something off the tee, I just seem to grab this one so much more. And we're getting to the one and only driver for this. And we've got the Dynamic Disc Vandal. This is not the one that I bagged, but this is the one that I got in that Christmas box from Ricky Wysocki, or from the Saki Bomb box. Once again, this is another disc that, I love this Orbit plastic, so I ended up grabbing a Team Stamp one from my local disc shop, and I just love the way that it feels. It's a 9-speed. I don't throw a ton of drivers. 9-speeds are kind of where I max out, so this one just feels good. I can pretty much get it to kind of flip up and then fade back to the left a little bit, or just kind of just dead straight. So when I need to a little bit longer off the tee, this is usually the disc that I go for, and it kind of just, pulls the bag together, I guess, and gives me just a little bit extra distance that I'm not getting with those normal fairways. And for the final disc of 2023 that I added to the bag that just really fit and put the bag together, we're going to go with the Saki Bomb Slammer. I love this disc. I've been using the Zone for years. When I kind of switched to this full trilogy bag, I put in the Harp, and I really like the Harp. I use the Harp a good amount, but there's just kind of that, I've always had that weirdness of the in-between, and the Saki Bomb Slammer, I think, is that disc. For me, that's just perfect. I know when I'm looking for those approach shots, I'm pulling the Saki Bomb Slammer out of the bag probably, 94 times out of 100 over the Harp. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but I just grabbed this one so much more. I've had such better shot shaping ability with it, especially on just kind of like, I get that where you're like 100 feet and there's a tree in the middle. You can just throw this thing on a hyzer. It's going to curve around. It's just got good placement. I've hit some crazy like sidearm putts where I've skipped off a tree and went in the basket with this thing. I mean, It's pretty versatile for an approach disc, and I think if you don't have a zone or anything in that overstable kind of thing, this might be a fun one to try out. It is kind of a little bit slower, but I think for some aspects that really helps me because it's kind of, I know where it fits a lot better. This has saved me probably a ton of strokes, and maybe too has given me some because I put myself in weird spots because I think that I have this disc that I can get out of stuff with. But overall, I've been loving the Slammer, and it's probably easily my favorite disc that I threw in 2023. So I know that I just went over my favorite disc that did not come out in 2023, but that I started throwing in 2023. I'd love to know, what are some discs out there that you tried in 2023 that is not necessarily a new disc, but you fell in love with? I think the great thing about disc golf is that, maybe this is a double-edged sword. You can find new discs and re-fall in love with the game through it. I know that Saki Bomb Slammer is one of those discs that when I put it to the bag, there were just so many things that I was able to change and do that, for a very minuscule change, it just seemed to fit in my bag. What is that disc that made your bag that just kind of fits and you can't see taking out because it has now become a staple? And now let's get to the best discs that came out in 2023. Once again, these are just the ones that I ended up playing with. It's some time throughout the year, and how I rank that. I will say there's an honorable mention to like the Detour. I ended up not throwing that until this year, unfortunately, just didn't get around to it. There is the Fairway Driver from Prodigy. I think there was an extra unknown mid that they had, and I think the Hooligan Cash were some discs that I ended up throwing, but they didn't make this top list. So for disc number 5 and how I'm going to rank these is going to be the Innova Alien. This disc is just fun. Like, I had this in my bag as a joke. I don't know if you've seen the Squatch bag. It's got that extra little pouch. I had this in the little pouch above where your discs say, because I remember there was a time where Cat Merch ended up grabbing a disc out of there, and they made the commentary joke of like, I've never seen her grab that disc. It must be the secret weapon. So I kind of had this there. I love just kind of throwing this for a putter or an approach disc. This thing had some good distance. It was fairly stable, so it could hold up in the wind pretty good. And it's just, it's got that Frisbee flight plate. It was fun. I know that Innova also came out with the Rolo. I didn't get a chance to throw that, but this and that were just two fun discs that Innova did for a company that has so many discs to be able to put out discs that people want to throw and are kind of fun. This just was a cool disc. I had it in the bag for a while. I'm probably going to put it back in the summertime just because this one's DX and just have some fun with it. I like throwing it off a tee and just kind of seeing what it does. And I'm going to preface with a lot of this. Only 2 of these discs are technically like staples in my bag right now, but some of them are pretty good and still, I have to go for. So the next one we're going to go out with the Archive from Prodigy. This one is in that test run plastic. So the one thing I will say is that I think a lot of people classify this disc as like kind of that like stable to slightly overstable, not quite like a beefy overstable disc, but holds up pretty good. This one seemed pretty flippy for me. I really liked it. I ended up taking this out, like I said, with that A5 that I talked about earlier. This was on that same run. This gave me a lot of good shots. I'm really excited to put this one out on Is the Archive the Best Mid-Range video. Eventually I'll get to that this year, hopefully, because I think this disc is fun. It definitely, I can kind of put it on some Anheuser and it'll hold that line, but it seemed to kind of do, whatever I want. But if I just threw it flat, it flew pretty straight with maybe just a slight turn at the end. As you can tell, a lot of these discs seem to be mids and putters that I've talked about, but hey, eventually maybe we'll get to another driver. But we got, for disc number 3, we got the Dune from Trash Panda. This one I actually am working on. I took this one already out for it. Is the Dune the best mid-range? I had a lot of fun with this disc. It is a good disc. I also had a video where I ended up taking the Dune and the inner core out. The problem with the 2 of those is that I just love that inner core so much that I just kept throwing it. The Dune is good. This is just a nice neutral mid-range disc. I think if you come back probably a week from when this video airs, maybe I'll even have the Is the Dune the Best Mid-Range video out. But I had a lot of fun with this disc. this could easily make the bag. It's just kind of one of those weird shots where for me, I kind of have some mostly neutral mid-ranges where this one just flies straight. It could kind of maybe take over there, but my shop doesn't really sell these, and I think the only issue that I'm going to run into eventually with this is that it might start beating in and I'll have to start getting more replacements, which always is the bummer, right? But the Dune is a really fun disc. I really love what Trash Panda's doing. I'm really excited to try out the Ozone this year, which is their fairway driver. So you'll probably be seeing me talk about that at some point when that finally gets released. But the Dune, fun disc, good mid-range, pretty neutral. If you're looking for something to start off, I think this is a fun one. And yeah, this one is in their premium plastic too. So these final two discs, these are discs that made it into the bag this year that also came out this year. So I've got in the 2 spot, we've got the Supreme Fugitive. This is the prototype one. The thing that I like about this is I've been throwing warships, and I think warships are kind of, pretty neutral to just a little tick of overstability. This one just kind of is a little bit more beefy. If I get into trouble and I need to sidearm, if I'm sidearming a mid off a tee, it's usually going to be this thing. But I can throw this. I know that there's been rounds where there's wind, throw this straight into the wind. It doesn't really change its flight a little bit. It's always going to go pretty straight, fade to the left. And it just kind of fit that slot. It holds in the hand pretty nice. And I do love this like new plastic that Dynamic Disc came out with. I think this is considered similar to like the Royal plastic from Lat 64. But overall, the Fugitive made it into the bag. I don't throw this disc a ton, depending on the course, but on shorter courses and I need a little bit extra length, I'm going to throw this over, let's say, a Saki Bomb Slammer or a Harp. And yeah, there's just certain days where, if there's wind out, this is just going to come out of the bag a lot more than a warship, just because it's going to kind of get into that flight. And the final disc from 2023 that made it into my bag and is just kind of something that, really I've been kind of looking for a while. I think there's a lot of discs in the Trilogy lineup that do this, but this one just seems to do it better for me, and that's going to be the Cicada. I loved this disc when it came out. I liked the idea of it. Saw my buddy throw it. He just threw this thing flat, and it went straight. It's like a frozen rope, as we like to say. But I love this disc. There's a few shots where I think open woods, this thing flies pretty just dead straight for me. If I put it out on an open hole, it kind of has a little bit more turn. But there's just these certain shots, right, where you can't quite hit it with a mid-range, and you want to just hit that straight line with a fairway driver. This seems to be the disc for me. I know in the winter league that I play in, there's like 2 holes that this comes out. One is for a second shot on a longer hole where it's just like, hey, where do I want to place this? I can just kind of point to the place, throw it, and this is going to kind of land there. I might be, 15 feet off of where it falls, but the good thing is I know that if I point it in that direction, it's going to fly straight. It's going to hit there. I think the Cicada was a lot of fun. I know a lot of people really dug this disc when it came out. But once again, there were a ton of discs that came out last year. I went through the PDGA kind of approved disc list to see what was out there, and there was so much stuff. I'd love to know, what disc did you throw that you just loved in 2023? And of all the discs that I didn't mention, what one do you think I should try out? I know that a ton of people really love that Rolo, and there was a lot of try with that. I ended up, I think that, I went to go grab one from the shop, and I ended up just not. I think it was kind of one of those things where, like, as I mentioned with that flip, the Tersis is just kind of fit in my bag, and I have so many that are kind of like, this one I can just throw flat and it'll turn. This one I can throw flat and it'll go neutral. This one I have to like put it on like that much of a hyzer angle and it'll flip up flat to turn over gently. So I have a lot of these different Tersises that have built in, and that's kind of been a staple in my bag that I just get scared that I'm going to fall in love with something else. So I'd love to know though, what is it that you love this year? And if you like videos like this, I'm going to plan on doing something again in this year, towards the end of the year, and maybe just because there are going to be a lot of discs that I throw, I might do like a halftime special too. Who knows? This quarter, because it's so snowy and wintry out, I'm definitely not going to throw nearly as many discs as I want to. But once summer hits, especially even spring, I'm going to be probably going out on my lunch breaks a few times a week, and also just being able to get in more disc time to just throw some stuff. So I'd love to know too, what do you want to see on this channel? And if you haven't already, go check out Peachy Disc Golf. He is kind of the person that, he did this and it made me want to do this. And I'd love to see, I know that there are a few other channels that, I follow and we talk to a little bit. If you make one of these, I'd love to let you know. You can tag me in it. I'd love to watch it because it's just fun to see what people really enjoyed throwing last year and, some of the other fun stuff that they did. So once again, I've been Cole. Thank you for stopping by and going on this disc golf journey with me. And as always, peace.